this is the score sheet that you complete. And there are some columns in here that are highlighted that are not to be used because they will be computed. So if you have a GPA of 3.7, it's going to compute the points for the grades. If there's an ACT score of 20, when you put it in there, it will compute that. And then the rest of them you put in. And we'll come back to this score sheet in a few minutes. So let's clear it and let's look at the next thing. All right, you will have, and we can send these out again to everybody when you send the video, I guess, but everybody should have a conversion tape. And ACT scores are already on your score sheet. So if you put in an ACT score, it will compute, but SAT scores aren't. And I think basically it's the state of Texas that uses SAT. So for those, you may get something like 1120, 1125, and you look in here and find where it falls, and then you'd put that down. Well, there won't be a 25 because it's by 10. So 1120 would be 22. And so you don't use 1120 on your sheet, but you would use 22. So you'd go back to that score sheet and you'd put in 22. Okay. Of course, if you try to put 1120, I think you would see that it's messed up.
Excuse it.
Yeah. So that's how you use the conversion sheet.
Okay.
And it's not always needed, but it is sometimes. All right. Let's go to, what do I have? Oh, then there is a GPA conversion chart. And sometimes I know that Millette is asking for non-weighted GPAs, and I think most of the schools are able to send that, but sometimes they are not non-weighted. So in that case, then you need to convert everything to a 4-point scale because that's the scale that's used on non-weighted GPAs. And you have to look at their final grades and you have to convert them, or their final percentiles, and you have to convert them to this scale and add them up. Sometimes you will see final grades that are A minus A, but quite often it's just A, B, C, D. But sometimes you'll see the plus and minus, and so this sheet will show you the different conversions for that.
If they're flunking a class, you still have to enter in the 0. Could you, or can we leave it blank? I just, because I remember that last year. I think I left it blank, but then I realized I had to go back and enter.
No, it would have to be added in one way or another.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know what I got on my. See, I don't know how to get rid of that. Hattie can teach me maybe to get rid of all my emails. They're coming like crazy. Okay. So let me go. No, you need it, Millette, because I'll show you on the practice sheet, because there's a total number of credits or units for the year. And you have to divide that by the units to get their GPA.
Okay.
So going back to that conversion sheet, yes, if they have an F, it's a 0, but you might look to see sometimes they have replaced that with another grade. So you just have to check the transcript.
Okay.
Because sometimes they're allowed to redo that, and I don't know if they're both calculated in there together or just what we'd have to look. That's an individual, basis that we'd have to look at that at. Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't expect to see many of those from our students.
I'm just thinking that with COVID, some kids may not be able to finish in anticipation of COVID issues or health issues due to COVID, that they might not be able to finish something and could very easily end up with a lower grade on something like a D or an F because they didn't complete it. And they might make it up by the end of the year, but at the time we're collecting information, it's that grade.
Okay, so I sent this as a practice sheet to everybody, and I don't know if anybody's done anything with it, but you need to now.
Okay.
So what you need to do is look at the final grade, and you need to look at how many units the final grade has. So you're going to go through here and you're going to tally up all the A's. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's a half. So 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5. That makes it 9. Anyhow,
Yeah.
so you tally up all the A's and all the B's. So do that now and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay, let's look at it. One thing I didn't mention to you is that the senior year grades are only going to have one semester. So you're going to have to add those, and you're going to have to go back and grab those. So just grab those now and add them to your totals.
Okay. All right. If I kept my eyes on the right line. Okay, let's see. So I've got. So you want a total number of all the A's, half or otherwise, or do you want them separated?
Right.
Okay, so I have 23, 24. No, 23.
Oh, okay. Wait, okay. Which would be 11.5, which would be correct. Okay.
Right. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
11.5 is what you want.
Right. Half that.
So what do you have for B's?
For B's, okay, let me do the half. 20. It's 23.5 divided by 2. 11.7. Is that right?
Should have 13.
Oh, then I missed
But
something.
you don't have to count every one of these on the sheet, just the finals, and then go back to the first semesters and pick up those. And
okay. That's where I'm off then.
Okay, so go ahead and work with 11.5 for A's and 13 for B's. So if you go back to your conversion sheet, you know that an A is worth 4 points.
4 points.
And a B is worth 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to multiply your 11.5 times your 4 points and your 13 times your 3 points.
So it'd be 46 on the A. And that's 39 on the B's.
That's correct. And then you add those together and you get.
It's 85.
Right. Oh, and another thing that you're going to notice, and let me see if I can get back to the right sheet. Okay, good. Your total number of units should match this number down here, 24.5, and that'll help you know if you have the correct totals. And 11.5 and 13 is 24.5, so that lets you know.
Okay.
2 things to watch for. Sometimes they'll have something from the 8th grade on this transcript, and sometimes they won't count it in, but they should identify that it's not given a credit. And sometimes they'll have pass-fail classes, and they shouldn't be given a unit number either, but those are, kind of unusual things that might show up. But your total number of units should match that. And so when you divide the 85 by, then you take that 85 total and divide it by the 24.5 units, and I do that with a calculator if you have one handy.
$3.47.
Right, I got 3.469 and I rounded it to 2. Let me get my actual sheet where I did all my work on it.
Then if you go back to that other screen, it would be.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Oh, sorry.
Like this. Yeah. This sheet just wasn't handy. Okay, so this is on my marking and scribble, which is what I do on every scholarship application. I write notes all over the place. So there's my A's and my B's, and I didn't have it correct at first, and I got it right. I have the 24.5 units. I added them up. I divided by 85 by 24.5, and I got 3.469. And I always carry the 2 decimal places. So then I would go back and let's say this is number 1 on the sheet. And so she would be a 3.47. So here we go again, and we put down Well, I should have taken that out of here. We put down 3.47 for her GPA or his GPA, and that's their 130 points.
Okay.
So let's say that she has an ACT score, wait a minute, a SAT score that is 990. So you go to your conversion sheet and you go to 990. Whoa.
Which is,
And you get 19.
Mhm.
So you go back and you put 19 in here and you've done that part. So any questions on those two?
No, that makes sense.
Okay, so that's review on GPAs when it doesn't have it and you need to figure it, or you need to unweight a GPA. You have your sheet with all your minus and pluses, so you know how to convert any letter grade to a GPA.
Right.
You know how to total and divide. Okay. Trying to think if there's anything else. Are there any questions? Because I think that may be all that, yeah, that I need. I did look today and our conversion chart for the SAT and GPA is still current. I looked on, Googled that and checked for others and they're all matching this.
Okay, good.
So we know that's still good. So is there anything else you need from me?
Susan, I did have a question. Sometimes kids take the college level classes. So do we treat that like a regular class grade?
You have to get them on the same playing field to be able to have something to compare. And so colleges convert to the 4-point. So what you can do, and I was going to mention that you're down here where you have the overall performance. Then if you think they've taken an awful lot of those advanced placement classes and you don't see that they're getting enough credit for them, then that's where you can weigh in.
Okay.
So let's say there's let's say there's a student that has an 18 for an ACT, which I think is the lowest that we take, and a 4-point. And it's obvious that they're working way above their ability. And somebody else over here has a 34, which is about 36 is the highest, and they're barely pulling a 3-point. Well, to me, they don't get the points down here, not much, but that person that's working above does, or that person that's taking a lot of these advanced courses, and this is where you can make adjustments to points.
Okay.
But everything else is going to pretty much, support the student or support what you do, because they're going to have an essay that is well written and answers the questions that are asked, and they'll have activities. And sometimes we have to remember that if they have a job, they're not going to have as much extracurricular activities, but that, to me, that job counts as, so I don't penalize a kid that's working and also involved with school activities versus one that doesn't have to work and has an extra activity or so.
Okay.
Some of these kids are going to be amazing, and you're just impressed at all that they do.